had that dream where suddenly you realise you're completely naked? That nightmare when you're in public, going about your business, and it dawns on you that you are completely stark naked and everyone can see you. Think about the discomfort and the horror that you felt in that moment. With those feelings in mind, can you imagine standing here as I am before you, naked? This can be a daunting task, but nudity need not be scary and taboo. Imagine being able to bear all without fear, shame, or discomfort. I can tell you from experience that it can be done, and I'd love to share my journey with you on how I navigated nudity. Nakedness didn't always come easily to me. I, like many, once felt shame, fear, and guilt. The idea of being seen naked without my clothes on was horrific. But despite this, as a lifelong lover and enthusiast of art and expression, I unknowingly embarked on a journey of discovery and acceptance. I strove not only to enjoy art from the point of view of a spectator or creator, but of the point of view of becoming the art. My journey began on the other side of the pencil as a young art student in high school. Art was by far my favourite subject, and when I had the opportunity to attend a life modelling class, I jumped, wanting to further my skills and experience what was, for a young Catholic schoolgirl, a pretty edgy thing. I was both nervous and excited, and sheepishly wondered how I would feel seeing a naked person mere meters from me. Would I be embarrassed? Would I find it funny? What if I was disgusted by their body? It didn't take long to learn that none of those concerns would be founded, as in reality, an artist is far too busy trying to capture what they see in front of them in the strictly limited intervals of time. I quickly grew to love my life drawing classes and was lucky enough to be presented with an abundance of different models. Models of different genders, with varying differences in weight, physical abilities, looks, and body types. What I quickly came to realise was that no matter what the model looked like, be they disfigured, voluptuous, elderly, or average, I never found their body to be anything other than a work of art. I even discovered that I preferred unique-looking models who had something different about them, as opposed to what we generally see in advertising or fashion. This challenged my own view of my body and showed me that the human form comes in all shapes and sizes, all of which can be beautiful. My foray into standing on the other side of the pencil came slowly, as I was initially against it. As a teenager, I attended a photography exhibition at a local art college. I marvelled at the imagery and was intrigued to see many nude forms captured in the photos. I'd seen plenty of nudes in art books, photographs, paintings, and magazines, but this was the first time I had considered that the nudes I was looking at were people I might know. Not just a model who turns up to class, but normal people, probably students. I laughed to an older female friend and said I would never model nude for everyone to look at and talk about. But to my horror, she said she thought it was perfectly acceptable and pointed to an artwork depicting her naked body. I was mortified, thinking perhaps I'd offended her, but also quietly awed by her free and open declaration. I immediately thought she was incredibly cool, and in that moment, I confronted the possibility that perhaps I too could bear my form to be seen as art and not shame. After all, having viewed the artwork that depicted her body, I'd not been revulsed or scandalised. I saw art. It occurred to me then that not only could I create art, I could be art. At the tender age of 18, I was presented with the opportunity to model for an artist friend. I took the plunge, and despite my nervousness, uncertainty, and fear, I wasn't laughed out of the room or pointed at or the cause of revulsion. It in fact went really well, and I found myself slowly becoming more comfortable and confident revealing my body. In opposition to the feared mockery or judgment, I was thanked for my time and complimented on my bravery in poses. I continued my journey, getting bookings with classes via word of mouth, and before long, I could call myself a legitimate working life model. This was 22 years ago, giving me enough experience to say that by now, I honestly feel more comfortable naked than clothed. Without the encumbrance of clothing, I feel free, truly myself, and in an odd way, defiant and whole. But how did I navigate this blossoming of nudity from shame to shining, fear to fearlessness? I'm not saying that everyone should become a life model. It's hard work, low paid, and certainly not enough to live off. But the experience taught me many tricks and tools to cope, embrace, and maintain myself, as well as giving a delightful glimpse into how artists see my nudity and how they can transform my body into art. The first thing life modelling taught me was to know my body, to know its weaknesses and strengths, and to have a solid understanding of what it is capable of. Where you are sitting now, think about how many times you've shifted your position, crossed and uncrossed your legs, scratched an itch. When you are being drawn, you cannot do any of these things. You have to really think about your body, how long you can comfortably hold it in a position, and what to do if you are struggling to maintain the pose. Life modelling also takes quite a bit of mental effort and concentration. One enters an almost meditative state in order to stay still, and it's possible in this state to exist only in your body, in that moment, and for that time. It's very grounding, and such oneness with one's body is quite rare and profound. Much like the other side of the canvas, where I was too busy trying to draw than to snigger and be critical, on this side, I'm far too busy holding still. The moment the posing ends is an immense relief. You shake it off, stretch, and lose yourself in the bliss of being able to move. But the greatest and most astonishing part comes after this, when you get to see the art that was created from that shared moment of concentration and effort. Seeing the art really makes you see your body differently. Each artist will depict you completely differently depending on their skill, style, and approach. In your head, you think you know what you look like. But in viewing these artworks, you get to see yourself through the eyes of the others. And let me tell you, it's very broad and diverse. How can you cling to your own hang-ups and fears when confronted with a myriad of different images, all of which are beautiful in their own way? It's hard not to feel pride and wonder that you and your body have become art. You are no longer a nude person standing in a room of clothed strangers. You are immortalised on paper, very much yourself, but also transformed into something else. Years of experience and repetition have also taught me many tricks that I use to feel comfortable in my skin, and a few practices that help make people around me more comfortable being in the room with a naked woman. Some factors to consider, and some of the aspects that make being nude uncomfortable are, and let's be honest here, bodily fluids. Bodies will do their own things when they want to, but if we accept this and mitigate it as best as possible, we can be comfortable with it. Pre-modelling, I wash myself, pretty basic, but I also bring baby wipes in order to wipe down between poses on breaks, as modelling can be sweaty work. Deodorant and perfume are essentials, as no one wants to be distracted by a muse that smells of BO. I consider my poses carefully to ensure I'm not pointing anything I want to keep private in people's faces, and I try to pose for the weather conditions. Limbs pressed together will sweat in hot weather, and there's nothing more uncomfortable than feeling sweat running down your legs for everyone to see. I always bring a robe to put on between poses. Just because people are okay with seeing me naked when I'm posing Wandering around the class on breaks in my birthday suit can make people uncomfortable. A robe perfectly negates this, as it keeps the third wall in place so that the artists can differentiate between when you're playing muse and when you are having a chat. It seems odd considering that they've just spent an hour drawing your body, often focusing very hard on aspects of your nude form, but it is respectful and helpful to highlight that distinction for everyone's comfort. I do have many, many more tricks under my non-existent belt, but not enough time to share them. But I hope I've given you some ideas and insight on how to be nude without the awkwardness. I will leave you though with my most precious and most important tool for an outing in one's birthday suit. Fake it. Even I sometimes feel a bit unsure of my body or have blemishes that I wish people couldn't see, but I can always fake it. I pretend that I don't care if people see it. I pretend that I'm brave and confident and that I'm completely comfortable. The people looking at me don't know that I'm acting. To them, I am all of those things. And in a way, the act takes over reality. It becomes no longer an act at all. Repeat this process enough and you'll find that you no longer have to fake it at all. When navigating nudity, I say, bear it all, fake it till you make it, and get out of your head. The way you see yourself is not at all the way others do, and something as simple as a life modelling class can be a giant step towards positive growth and acceptance.